Welcome to Help with Hannah and Calvin. I'm Calvin Reed.
I'm Hannah Jones, and we are here to answer your questions. This podcast is brought to you by Little India. This is a beloved, local, family-owned restaurant with 4 locations throughout the Denver area and a coffee shop. Some of my favorites on the menu include the chicken korma, tamarind margarita, and all the samosas. If you live in Colorado, you should make this place a regular stop. And if you're visiting our great city, be sure you don't miss Little India. Visit Little India Denver to find a location near you.
And thank you to Dude IK Studios in Denver where we are recording. Hey, Hannah.
Hello, we have a guest in the studio today. Calvin, I'll let you introduce him.
Yes. Okay, listeners, get ready. This is an OG bestie. We have my best friend from high school. We're still super close. Give it up for the fabulous Brendan Gant.
Ooh,
Brendan
thank
Gant.
Thank you. So happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for
Really
coming.
appreciate- Of course. Anything for Hannah.
Anything for me?
Anything for Hannah.
Yeah, after like when we were hanging out right before recording and he like stalked you a little bit. Well, I told him to, and he was like, Hannah seems like really, really fun. And I was like, she is.
No, yeah.
That's such a good instinct whenever you are like, whenever, you know, when you're going home with your significant other to like meet the family and you know that the vibe is that I'm going to buddy up to the mom by roasting the ever living shit out of her son. And I'm
Absolutely.
just going to eviscerate him to endear myself to the family.
Yeah. And then if they take it wrong, it's like,
Yeah.
and then you're like, what did I just do?
That's how we bonded when
Yeah.
we met each other's families, actually. Like, we just insulted each other, and both of our parents were like, yeah, he is stupid.
No, yeah. Especially you coming to like my dad's family's get-togethers because it was just so night and day, literally. And it was just Calvin walking in. Everyone's like, "Oh, that's what he looks like." And then you called it pumpkin pie, and it was game over.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was a good time.
Yeah.
It was a great
Well,
time.
and you guys famously knew each other when you were both straight.
Yes.
we met as straight men.
We met as straight men, grew
you
as
met
bi
as
men, and
straight
flourished
boys.
as gay men. Because I think I like our bi journey a little better because it really helped us learn a lot about ourselves and each other.
Yeah.
Because I had dated so many girls in high school just to deflect the fact that I was gay. So I was just like, I have to be bi because did that with so many women. But then you look at the women. And you're like, that makes sense.
Are they all still women? Because that's my...
Actually, yes, they are all still women.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Except, yeah. Yeah,
I
yeah.
have fucked a lot of, like, honestly, I think half my bodies are not the same gender currently that they were when I caught them.
Really?
I got them.
I don't think I've ever been with somebody who changed their gender
I
after
like
I've
to
been with
think I
them.
have
either.
safe space energy, but
You do.
the majority of the women that I've slept with were not women at the time.
Interesting. Well, I mean, yeah. That I feel like is that like a bisexual girl thing?
Yeah, quite possibly.
Yeah.
Like a lot of bi girls I know tend to really gravitate towards like trans men. Like I see a lot of bi girls date a lot of trans men.
I do like trans
'Cause
men as well.
Like I mean, I think trans
Well,
men are
because
hot.
trans
Trans
men
men are
usually,
beautiful.
they start out
Beautiful.
usually as like butch lesbians
Yeah.
for a while. And so if that's your type, then like, yeah.
Yeah.
Which does totally
And
make
like,
sense.
I feel like I should preface this statement with all people are beautiful, but trans men specifically are beautiful creatures. Beautiful. And
I'll let you expand on that without accidentally saying anything problematic. Go.
accidentally is crazy because no, I think trans men, everything that has to do with the operation, the outcome, everything, the process is so beautiful. And I'm not saying it's not with the same way other way around. I just think that trans men, I've met so many, especially working at my current place now, I've met so many trans men that I would have never, ever in a million years, not that it mattered, but not in a million years would have guessed. And it's just so beautiful. And I'm like, oh, I love it because I'm just like, I just want to pinch your cheeks. I'm so proud of you.
I think the upper body operation, the scars that you get, I think they're
Top
so
surgery?
top surgery. Yeah, why did I forget the word?
the operation.
The
you go
operation.
through.
No, I think the top surgery scars are so fucking hot.
I know some trans men who have gotten cool as fuck tattoos over their top
so
surgery
cool.
scars.
Like it just looks cool. I've like ever since like I think the first time I saw like a trans person shirtless or a trans man shirtless, I was like, whoa. I was like, that's kind of, I was probably straight at the time. And I was like, whoa, that's kind of hot.
like,
I was like,
okay, what's
okay. I was
going
like,
on
but
there?
I was like, they're a guy, so I'm confused. Whoopsie.
Baby, you were not confused. You knew exactly what you wanted.
Literally. Good times.
Okay, so how have you guys been spending your visit? How's your last week been?
Good. I got here like 3 hours ago, which was great. I flew in from Orlando, and it's so nice to be back home because I'm bringing my boyfriend, almost fiance, here for the first time.
Ian's off screen.
Shout out to Ian. And he's seeing.
Wait,
Colorado
did you say
and-
almost fiance?
Yes, we're getting engaged in August.
You're getting engaged in August?
Yes, we are.
So you planned the engagement?
It was
Okay,
supposed to be a surprise.
I don't want to hit because I had talked to Calvin about it. I talked to Calvin and Shelby, and I was like, "This is what I want to do. Everything's beautiful." Plot twist: he was planning on doing the same thing, and I was told that by his mother. She was like, "By the way, I think this is going to like. I need to warn you. I think this is gonna." I think he has similar plans. And I was like, awesome. So then we had kind of talked about it. And then we went out with a friend downtown. And I was very, very intoxicated. And I had told her in front of him, I was like, I'm proposing to Ian. Like, and he was right there. Right there. And I hadn't talked to him about it yet because I got this information from his parents. And then I was like, it's fine. I'm still going to do it. And then after that, the next day we had to have a sit down and be like, okay, what do we want to do? Because we had known where we wanted to do it and when. We just didn't know like who. We had talked about me doing it, but then I was like, I kind of want to be proposed to. So we kind of came to the conclusion it's going to be we're both going to get the rings, which are family heirlooms, which is great.
Cute.
And then we're going to go to said place and not vows because that's a strong word, but like give each other like a speech, and then we're going to come back to our home state and be engaged.
Cute.
Yeah. So that's the plan.
So so you both get down on one knee?
I think we're just gonna do the whole thing standing.
Oh.
I thought you were going to take turns. Like you like go down, one goes down on you, and then, you know,
Which
but
I'm
like,
fine with.
but like one goes down and like says the cool stuff, and
Yeah.
then you say yes, and then you get up, and then you just do it again.
Yeah.
Yeah. See,
But
I'm
that's so hetero though.
yeah,
Isn't
and
it?
I'm too unserious for that. Like I can't take anything seriously that has to do with like, and that's why I think this is better because we could just be like, this is what's happening, and like kind of make it fun. Because if I was something serious that I had to like go through, plan, write something, I feel like it wouldn't have been as sincere because we're just silly guys. You know what I mean? Like we're just like we vibed because we had worked at such a unserious job together. And I feel like that really bonded us for life because, like, once you could do that job, you can do anything.
You should have a prank engagement where the ring box is like one of those things that snaps on you.
Yeah.
Or like when you kneel down, your knee hits a whoopee cushion.
I'd be like, gotcha.
Because you're just silly guys.
Yeah.
You're just
We're just
unserious
so-
guys.
You like
Fun
push
and
one of
silly.
each other into the bay.
Which is crazy because we saw a whale last time. And one of my biggest fears, shout out to my friend Alex, she gets it, whales. Anything big, anything.
No, they're terrifying.
Anything that
Okay,
is
fat
bigger
phobia.
than me.
But they're
No,
they're
no.
too big. I'm sorry,
No,
maybe it
no,
is fat
yeah.
phobia. They're too big.
I'm
They're
sorry.
fucking terrifying.
I'll say it. Cancel me if you want. They're too big. I'm sorry. And
That's just what my dad said about me when I was 8. So
Stop!
no big deal. Not a big deal.
Nah, same.
no, yeah, it's every day. But like that's the thing, like, and submechanophobia, all those things, like seeing the moving parts underneath water, terrifying. Don't ever put me in that situation because I'll throw up. I'll throw up all over wherever. We're
No,
at,
like
and it's
blue
gross.
whales are literally just like living skyscrapers.
And sperm whales, get out of my face! And they have little eyes like this, but they're gargantuan. Not fair. Not fair. They're scary.
And they like hang when they sleep. They sleep vertically in the ocean. So oh my, like
and
that's
they make
so
a noise
scary.
that could kill a human. The sound is so like crazy underwater that it could kill you because of like the vibrations.
Why are they called sperm whales?
Because they look like a little sperm.
Really?
Is that
What I will say is that my feelings on whales, my opinions on whales are such. I think that everything we know about whales is against the laws of nature. We should never have invaded their home, and we know all these unflattering facts about them because of that, as humans are wont to do. And I Okay, this is not whales, but you know how there's been a bunch of shark attacks off the coast of Florida lately?
Yes.
Yeah.
And there was like a TikTok about it, and I opened up the comments, and all the comments were like so weirdly like doomed. Like all the comments were like, the ocean knows something we don't. Like, why are the sharks so agitated? And
I
it's
fell
like,
for those comments.
Honestly,
Honestly,
because at the same time, I'm like, because there's so much we don't know about it.
100%. And it's like the ocean was always scary. You were wrong for not thinking it was scary during
Yeah.
like the tender years of your life. But like for most of human history, we have been rightfully afraid of the ocean.
Yeah. Absolutely.
like,
And if we're returning to be a little more scared of the ocean,
Good.
then I think that that's right.
no, literally, because like there's like that point in the center in like the ocean that's like you're closer to people on the moon than you are to anybody on land.
Yeah.
That's fucking weird. That's scary.
But I have empathy for them because like living in Florida, like SeaWorld's a
Sorry,
big
you have
thing.
empathy for the sharks?
No,
Or
sorry,
people?
going back to the whale comment.
Oh, the
I'm scared of them, but I also have like empathy for them mostly because the ones that are like kept in captivity. Because like if you go on like Google Earth, okay, SeaWorld makes me so angry because if you like zoom in the parking lot on an aerial view, and then if you look at the orca encounter and like where they're kept, it's like a fraction of what the parking lot is, and I'm like that makes me so sick to my stomach because one, that's just not fair, but two, it's just like you care more about humans at that point and you claimed it doesn't sit right with me, and it's one of those things where I'm like I feel bad for you but stay away from me.
Yeah, that's how I
bad
feel
for
about
you,
killer whales.
but stay away from me.
Because they don't attack people in the wild. There's never been a case of a killer whale attack in the wild.
But in captivity it's gonna happen.
yeah.
And it's scary and it's sad. It's sad. The people that have lost their lives trying to train killer whales, rest in peace.
Yeah.
It makes me sad.
Yeah. No, it makes sense. The shark shit is scary though.
Oh, yeah.
Because sharks
Really
scare
scary.
me.
Well, and because in July I'm going on my family beach trip, and if I can't like safely get in the ocean, I don't know what I'll do.
It was
Just
so
fucking
nice knowing
sit
you.
on the sand.
It was so nice knowing you. I'm happy we got to meet because you're gone. You set foot in
You
that ocean.
really
you're done.
think so?
Girl, yeah.
Is nobody swimming this whole year, even up in North Carolina? I thought it was just Florida.
you
Girl.
don't know about North Carolina.
I don't care. It's the ocean and the beach. Okay? You're going to step one foot in there. You're going to see something that's glowing, something you've never seen before, and you're going to die. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me you're wrong. Tell me
Hannah's
I'm wrong.
about to just have like the worst beach trip.
No,
Like,
and
because
I hope you do so you never go to the beach again.
Excuse
the
me.
beach. I hate the beach. And I hate the beach.
Okay, I gathered that. No, that came across so clearly.
I hate the beach. Like, even when Calvin came to visit me, I was like, I don't care what you want to do. I'll take you to do whatever. Not going to the beach.
we did not go to the beach.
There's no beach here. Oh, you meant
No,
when
and-
he came to visit
Yeah, when
you
I visited
Florida.
him in Orlando, yeah.
Yeah.
You
When we
land in
come to
Denver,
Denver,
you're
we're
like,
not going to
"Not
the
the
beach.
beach."
That's not happening.
No, it's pretty clear to me that you hate the beach.
Yeah.
Orlando's an insane place for you to live.
Yeah. Well, we had gone to.
Do you just love the mugginess and the afternoon thunderstorms?
No. We had gone to Hilton Head, like Disney's like private island, whatever, and Ian had gone into the ocean. Within like maybe 5 minutes, he got stung by a jellyfish.
Mm-hmm.
I was the first one to be like, let me pee on you. Not in a weird kink way, because not kink shaming, but not in a weird, in the moment I was like, let me pee on you because I want to see if it works. I was so curious. And we went to the first aid person, like the lifeguard. No idea what to do. Crazy. And then you find you're going to be in that situation, Hannah. Oh, and then there's going to be no one to help
by
you.
a jellyfish before.
Is that not terrifying?
I mean, they're just kind of like everywhere. It's not like a huge deal, but it depends on the jellyfish. Because like I've
Yeah.
been stung by a jellyfish and it's truly no big deal. But then if they get their tentacles wrapped around you, or if it's like a Pacific manibore, which is a type of jellyfish that's not technically a jellyfish, that shit. But it looks like a jellyfish. That shit will destroy you. And like my friend has scars all over her legs from a Pacific manibore like clamping onto her for a while.
It's like a bad hookup. You can't get rid of it until it's gone. And then when it's gone, you're like, oh, thank God. You're like, thank God I didn't
Yeah.
have to deal with
Is
that
it like
now.
a landlocked kid? That's terrifying. Because like I've never grown up by the ocean at all. I've been to a beach once in my entire life.
Well,
so
you
like,
grew up with reservoirs. So,
yeah, so I'm like I see a fish in a lake and I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah, things live there. Like I just bears to me are way less scary than like jellyfish. Oh yeah, I do
I
like
mean,
bears.
the thing is that the ocean is just so big. Like, there's so much
And there's
room
so
for
much you
all
don't
of this
know
stuff,
about
and they don't want to be around you.
Yeah.
And so, for the most part, you just like one trip to the like. I've been stung by a jellyfish once. I have spent a week plus at the beach every year of my life.
Okay.
Like swimming for hours every day in the ocean every week. 1 week a year.
So you'll probably be. I hope
So that's
you're
just
okay.
like a really high rep rate, you know?
Yeah.
You got to be strong. There was one
And-
positive beach experience I had, and I was very drunk. And it was for my friend JT's birthday. And we had gone out. I had fun. But if I wasn't inebriated, I would have been freaking out.
Well, that makes
out.
sense.
Because it's just scary. And then you go back on, and then you're full of sand. And then you don't know what's on your skin because you don't know what's in the ocean. You're swimming in fish pee.
I'd
fun
rather
is
swim in fish pee than in like a lake, though, like a dirty lake or like a dirty river.
Yeah.
I'd much rather that than a pool
They're all
with
for-
cleaning chemicals.
Yeah, but the
literally
cleaning
just
chemicals are
bleaching
killing the
myself.
adult pee.
And you. Like the ocean
That's true.
the ocean is an ecosystem. So like the pee is a healthy part of it, and so is the salt, and so is the shit, and so is everything like that. It's just an ecosystem, the same way that like there's poop in the air, you know? But like that's just kind of part of what air is at the end of the
I
day.
kind of love it, though. The thought of that is just floating. It's
Yeah,
just
fecal
like-
matter's just in the air.
Yeah. How do you feel about that thing on Mythbusters that they did when they like flush the toilet and they show how much like shit goes on your toothbrush and stuff?
No, because that's actually terrifying.
It's disgusting. They're like, that's why you should close the lid every time you poop.
I
I'm
think
like,
that's more of a lesson about how like inescapable like particulate bacteria is.
yeah.
Yeah. Ugh. Wow.
Ugh,
Wow.
it's
Shit
But that's me being
talking.
gross.
Wait, what's everybody's favorite marine animal?
That's hard.
Mine used to be dolphins until I found out they were like rapists, and I stand by women, so I don't want to stand by rapists.
Wait
but-
till you hear about every other animal.
right.
You're gonna be
Wait.
so disappointed.
Do we have something to tell you? Because you're,
But like dolphins are like mean. I
But
used to
they're
really think they're
beautiful.
cool, but they're mean.
they're beautiful creatures, though. I think mine would be a dolphin only because they're so smart. They're just so beautiful, and just watching them just be, and I'm far away from them is great. Watching them from a distance is beautiful. Never catch me swimming with a dolphin.
No,
but,
that makes
like,
sense,
So
though.
fun, and they're just so beautiful.
Yeah,
What's
they're
yours,
beautiful
Karen?
because they're skinnier than whales. That makes sense.
Oh.
Yeah, I'll say it.
I'll go ahead and say
say
that I love whales, but I'll also say my favorite marine animal, maybe like a seahorse, trans rights.
Yes,
I like how they
seahorses
give
are
birth.
Cool.
I love how they give birth.
They're
I
they're
love
pretty
how they give
cunty.
birth.
They seahorses serve cunt 24/7. I
No,
do.
they serve cunt like about half the time.
Because the other half of the time they're like sad and depressed.
the other half of the time they're serving straight up dick.
They're serving straight man. No. I don't know what my favorite marine. I love how I'm the one that asked the question, but I don't know the answer. 'Cause
You're
it
like,
really,
I actually don't know what mine is.
for a really long time it used to be dolphins until I like learned more about them. I think sharks are the most fascinating, but they're not my favorite because they're scary looking. I like the cute ones. I right now sea turtle is really sticking out to me. I do think sea turtles are really beautiful.
And they're protected by that big shell. Keeps them from getting eaten by a lot of things.
Yeah. Which
is-
we stand.
yeah.
I love it. I love a good shell.
It's just crazy to me how much you guys are letting beauty standards rule your experience with Marine's life.
Unfortunately, yeah.
There are very few instances in which size matters. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Kind of. When it comes to whales,
No,
I'm
because
sorry,
I just
they're big.
They're terrifying because
Yeah.
they make elephants look small and elephants are huge. Like that's why I can't conceive how big whales are, and that to me is scary.
Yeah.
Like it's not because I mean they're like I love a good like they're like the thing that Christopher Columbus thought was a mermaid and he fucked it. And they live in Florida. Manatees are
You're gonna
manatees
say
are
a
huge.
merman.
Sorry, Christopher Columbus fucked a manatee.
It's rumored.
Is that canon?
I think it's. I would love for it to be real because
I would
fuck
like
Christopher
you to
Columbus,
offer
but
a bibliography on that because I need sources.
unfortunately my source is TikTok. My source is TikTok. So
Great source, famously
yeah.
a great source.
really
Enough
credible.
strong.
Gosh,
Strong. That's so funny.
Okay. Let's get into our questions
do it.
this week. So before we do, I have some shows coming up. If you are in Nashville, Savannah, New York, Boston, or Philly, please get on my text list. Show links will be up soon. We're just waiting for a Boston venue to confirm because Boston sucks. Okay, anyway.
and come see me through the rest of Pride Month in Denver. Odds are, if there's a Pride event, I'm either there or I'm performing
It's
at
so
it.
funny how you keep saying like you keep saying like, come see me during Pride Month. It makes it sound like you like are quitting after.
Come see me during Pride Month because it's my last month.
Because you'll never see me again.
Because I will stop getting booked. No. But no, there's something always going on for Pride Month with the comedy gays. And then I'm going to be in New York the last week of August. And I'm going to try and get some shows while I'm down there. And once I get shows and once venues confirm with me, I'll be putting it in.
Hell yeah. This podcast is sponsored by the Patreon. Patrons first priority to get their questions answered, and they also receive a bonus episode every month, and it's only $3 to subscribe at patreon.com/HannahJonesCool.
If you want to ask a question to get answered in a future episode, you can find the link to that form in the podcast description or on either of our link trees or on any of our social media platforms.
Alrighty. Question number 1. I have a first date planned with a guy I met on Bumble on Saturday. And we decided to do a video call last night so we could hear each other's voices and get to know each other better. Prior to the call, I was pretty sure I liked him. I was really enjoying our messaging and didn't notice any red flags. We had good banter and we were keeping things light. In the moment, the call was fine. Conversation flowed, we made each other laugh, learned about the other's book and movie preferences, etc. But afterwards, when reflecting, I remembered a few odd things that stood out. He mentioned multiple times on the call about how people who aren't as smart as him bore him and seemed pretty judgmental about things he didn't like or agree with. For example, he hates musicals, and when I asked him about that, he basically acted like musicals can't be good films. He also mentioned the amount of money he has in savings without me asking anything even remotely financial. Are these big enough red flags to warrant unmatching him / canceling the date Saturday? The guy is 31 and I'm 28. Signed, Leary and Like.
Leary and Like, I'm going to start off by saying that this person is trash. If you don't like musicals, you're trash. That's terrible.
Yeah, it could be just a straight man thing, though. Like, if this person, if Leary and Like is like a straight woman and they're dating like a straight man.
You can still appreciate the art form, though.
Not liking musicals is like the most common indie or alternative kid opinion of all time. I know so many like women who don't like musicals too.
It is
Makes me
heartbreaking.
I had fights in college about this with all the pretentious people that I was around.
We were around plenty of them.
Yeah,
too,
we were
and
around plenty of pretentious people.
It's just so sad because, well, not even, that aside, I just feel like the idea of starting off with a video chat in my head is a great idea because it takes away that anxiety of like, at least if it's bad and you really don't like it, you can delete, block right there, hang up, you're done. But if it's in person, getting out of that situation is a lot harder than if it is on, FaceTime. So I think that aspect of it for the first time, not a bad idea.
Except for the problem is that you started with a video chat after you already had an in-person date planned. So
That's what I
That's
think is
fair.
part of the problem.
You
Yeah.
played
That's fair.
yourself. Like, if
Yeah.
you're starting with a video chat for the purposes of filtering him out, then you have to have it be before
Lead with
the
that.
date gets planned.
The one time I heard somebody's voice, because we were messaging, I think it was on Bumble too, actually, and we were like, what do each other's voices sound like? And we sent each other voice memos. When he sent me his, I got the ick. And I was like, fuck, I shouldn't have asked. Like, I wish I got to know him as a person.
It's a big thing to consider.
Because he had the most, God, it was such a bad, I feel so bad. But it was such an annoying, grating, gosh, it was so nasal. It was like Toby from The Office, but 10 times more nasal. Oh, it was rough. And I felt
Ew.
so bad because it made me stop liking him. And we had already planned a date too. And I was like, well, I'm not going to cancel on the date. But I was like, fuck, I know for a fact I'm not going to like your voice. And in person, I didn't like it either. And I would have rather known in person that it was bad because then I feel like I wouldn't have been like not looking forward to it.
But you gave him a chance after still not liking his voice.
Yeah, and then
That's big.
and then I gave him another chance on another date because I have a low self-esteem, even though I knew I didn't like him.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Brendan, I'm going to catch you up to an opinion that I have voiced a million times on this podcast,
Okay,
which is
let's hear
that I have a special skill, and it's leaving a date early. And
I
I
think I've
think
heard this.
I
Yeah.
think that literally every human being, if you are going to be dating, if you're going to be going out on first dates, to keep yourself safe, I demand that you learn the skill of leaving the exact moment that you are uncomfortable. Shorter than 30 minutes is a little extreme, but 30 plus minutes, you drink that first drink quickly and you get the fuck out of there and you say, you are so great. but I am not feeling a spark, and I have this thing I have to get to, and it's a white lie, and everybody knows you're lying, and that's the polite thing to do.
Yeah.
Is just like give a little lie in that moment and get the fuck out,
And move
and
on.
you don't waste their time. And if they respond to that with anger or aggression, that is their business. That is something that's starting and ending in their head. So I would say go on the in-person date because, and this is why, you said that in the moment the call felt good. The conversation flowed, you made each other laugh. And then you're thinking back and dissecting things that he said afterwards without the context of the call. And I don't think any singular person's conversational skills can hold up to that level of criticism, personally. If you were to think about anything that I say outside of the moment and context that I say it, you can easily find a problem with
Yeah.
it. You can do that with this fucking podcast. Zoom to a certain moment of it and then like dissect how unflattering and how many character defects I could be betraying. And when I said that,
Like when we literally were fat phobic to whales,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that out of context.
no,
No, if they
literally
if they
horrible.
scroll to that, we're gonna be like, I don't care, they're big, and that's all they're gonna hear. And I'm gonna be like, well,
Like, yeah, you're right. Like out of context
Yeah.
though, like that's gonna be like, what the fuck are they talking
For
about? I'm like,
sure.
no, we're
Yeah.
banging on whales.
and I didn't even think about it that way, and that's brilliant to think about because it's like taken out of context, it's completely different.
and you're basically saying that like you're scared that he's a bad person and you're too stupid to notice it, and that's why you're trying to be like vigilant and overthink the situation. And I think that like you need to approach every dating situation with a level of trust in yourself
Yeah.
that you will notice when something is wrong the exact moment it's wrong. And you don't have to do that. You don't have to game yourself to keep yourself safe like you're yourself's mom or something.
Yeah.
Like just go on the date, and if he makes you feel uncomfortable and if he keeps saying things that make him sound like a bad person, then you're not a match. If you don't trust yourself enough to do that, then you don't get to go on dates anyway, unfortunately.
Yeah. I also think the financial thing, I personally don't think is quite as big of a red flag because him being 31, I bet you one of the girls he most recently dated or one of the people he's most recently dated probably talked about how he was probably like really poor with his finance or like really poor with money.
But
And
it
maybe
depends
he
on
just
how you
wanted to
see
start.
money.
Yeah, which is also true.
It
Yeah.
depends on how you see money because if you're somebody who money doesn't matter, I make money to live purely, and if money wasn't an object, I wouldn't care. But some people take money way too seriously, and that would be a deal breaker. Voice everything aside, you talked about the financial aspect, done. So it depends on how you are with money too, and I
Yeah.
think that could be a big part of this.
I will be honest that like if you're dating for marriage is a financial transaction by and large. And if like building a life that includes children is important to you, and it is to a lot of like hetero daters around this age, it can be relevant.
Yeah.
Like I have this weird feeling that he was like told, and literally the last girl he dated, she might have been like, you're really irresponsible with money, and he wanted to overcorrect because we all know men overcorrect too much. That he overcorrected and was like, I'm going to bring up financials and the fact that I'm financially stable right away, so you know it and you don't even have to worry about it.
Yeah.
Which then kind of comes off as, oh, I care way too much about money.
Right. And that comes to like, why do you care so much versus, oh, you might care a little too much. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
No, that
And it's
totally
like,
makes
ooh.
sense.
But Hannah, I have a question for you.
Yeah?
Did you just happen to always have that talent, or like did you have some trial and error with the whole being able to walk out? Because that social anxiety is to the max with that in person. Girl, if you were able to do that from the get-go, I'm proud of you.
Not so much from the get-go. I had some early experiences where I would constantly put myself in positions that were really harmful to me. And so then I got to a point where I could not engage with romance or sex on any level. And that was very like painful.
Absolutely.
At the time I was like 19 or 20 or something, and I was just like so traumatized that I was like, this whole like section of life that everyone else gets to participate in, like I'm the only one who doesn't get to participate in it. And then after like several years of like healing my relationship with myself and learning to trust myself, when I got back into dating, it was just a skill that I had. And I think that like a lot of people, if they don't go through something like quite as extreme, then that skill isn't necessary, and they can like put off building it for longer and longer.
Yeah.
But like I had to do that with sex because I had I was assaulted, and then my pussy was closed for 4 years. It was straight up broken. Couldn't put anything in there for 4 years. So by the time I was like 24, I had to like completely understand what I was comfortable with, what I wasn't, be able to vocalize my wants and needs in sex, which like unlucky that that happened to me. But on the flip side, most 24-year-old women that I knew at the time couldn't do any of that shit.
No.
And so they were still getting re-traumatized, like slowly and slowly. Whereas I felt like I was like freed from that.
No, that does make sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
When you look back at that, you can slowly see the tears forming in my eyes because that was one of the most beautiful things I've ever heard.
Oh my
because
gosh.
that was like that was a vulnerable moment. And like you guys know each other better, obviously, but like me coming in today and being like I was getting so teary-eyed. Like I was like, oh my gosh, because that's one of the hardest things to talk about. And the fact that, and being comedians, pain is funny, and you learn to work through that. But like the fact that that's the answer I got and how you got there, girl.
Thank
I
you
love
so
that.
much.
It's so beautiful. I just love it. I don't love that she had to go through it, but I love that was the outcome of it.
Yeah.
And you spun it to be positive for you.
And that you do try, because you always will give the advice of like, girls, you need to trust your instincts. Like that's something that
Yeah.
you're really good at like
Yeah.
emphasizing.
Which I love.
And that shows that you're like you need to trust your instincts because I like wanted to, and now you do, and
Well,
you feel so
and
much
I
better.
think that gets like drilled into us from such a young age is like, don't trust anything about your instincts. The first thing that happens is a guy has a crush on you and your parents say that you're stupid. You're not in love. You don't
Yeah.
actually like him. You don't know what you like. Okay. And then you watch TV shows. I mean, even the fucking last season of Bridgerton, they show
Speaking of,
they
But
show a consensual sex scene where he says, this will hurt a little bit at first. It is revolutionary for me to say that if it hurts, that's actually your body saying no. And actually, it is quite possible to go about sexual activity in such a way where your first time of penetration doesn't fucking hurt if you're warmed up enough. Very few people on this planet have ever experienced being penetrated without it hurting the first time.
which is sad.
But like,
yeah.
that's just another thing of like, it'll hurt at first, but like, just ignore that.
Yeah.
Just ignore the signals that your body is sending to you,
Yeah.
right?
Just pushing it off is so toxic.
Just ignore when you're hungry because it's better to be skinny. Just ignore every fucking
Oh
thing.
my gosh,
I hate it.
yes.
And then you get to the point of 27 and you're like, I have no idea who I am or what I want because I've been ignoring it this whole time. And there's nothing left. It's hollow.
Yeah.
Holy
And your
shit.
parents keep saying, like you said, like, you don't know anything, you don't, but then you could be like, I'm gay. And they're like, you don't know. Like, and you're
Yeah,
like,
and then it makes you
what?
doubt yourself,
And it makes you
yeah.
doubt yourself because I'm like, well, okay, maybe I'm not. And then you go through a whole separate journey that you didn't have to go through unless they, like, just because they made that comment.
Yeah.
And it's so frustrating. And,
And then we have
that's
like
what I
this
hate
huge
about it.
stigma around virginity, which will then always make like that first experience, because there's that stigma from like the second you're born, there's a stigma around virginity.
Absolutely.
You're obviously not ever going to feel as comfortable as you should about it
Yeah.
because you're always going to have like that, like, fuck, like I'm losing my virginity. Like that's
Yeah.
like the thing happening. And then it can make everything worse. But if we had a more welcome view to sex or a more open view to sex from the get-go, you're right. What happens if like sex was never ever supposed to be painful? It was
Yeah.
always supposed, like, and like we were literally just so brainwashed to think otherwise for millennia, for forever.
For too long.
There was literally like a couple of weeks ago, I was hanging out with like one of my little boyfriends and he was coming over after a comedy show and we were gonna hook up. Like that was the express. He was coming over late, like to fuck. And
Period.
like things kind of start happening and I wasn't feeling like I was super into it, so I just like pulled back and I was like, I'm kind of in my head, I'm kind of like not feeling it right now. And so we like stopped and we like chatted for a while and then like an hour later we like fucked, because that's how it fucking works. Sometimes you just need a fucking minute.
Yeah.
But, and this always happens to me, he commented, he was like, wow, that's so cool that you can actually like know your body that well and then also be able to communicate it without it being like weird or anything. And I was like, I don't think it's cool at all. I think it's absolutely fucking devastating that the majority of people can't do that. Men
And that he was so
women.
shocked about it.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
he
And
saw
he's like,
that.
so shocked about it. It's like, sir, have you ever not been feeling it? And have you
yeah.
ever taken a pause? Or did you just kind of power through it and teach your body that it can't trust you to make decisions for it?
Right. You're listening
Because that's
to
where
your body.
erectile
Yeah.
dysfunction comes from. Okay, now I'm getting so fucking conspiracy theory, But it's
You
just
said that
like,
and I got triggered.
I had
it's scary.
vaginismus, which is like your vagina fucking shuts down because she can't trust the decisions that you're making for her. And I feel like dicks do the same thing.
Hannah, I'm so happy you brought this up because we were just talking about this.
Yeah.
Because there was a time in my current relationship. Sorry, Ian, I love you. There's a time in my current relationship where, Mom, you could just click away at this point. Mom, I know you're watching. I love you.
My mom
Go-
should have stopped a while
Go
ago.
ahead and stop watching. But there was a time where I was like, oh my gosh, do I have ED? Because the role I was playing in our sex life wasn't what I was used to. And I was like, oh my gosh. And it was my body telling me, like, I got to get used to it. Like, this is something that is new to you and you're mentally psyching yourself out. And I couldn't physically perform the way I wanted to. And it drove me nuts. And for the longest time, I was like, he's going to break up with me. Because I was like, this is so embarrassing. And then once I learned it was a safe space between the two of us, because I have also had a terrible relationship with sex because it was just, I never had something meaningful like that. And so I was like, I don't want to ruin this because of my stupid insecurity. And then I brought it up to Calvin and he was like, wait. And then he experienced it and it was crazy.
Yeah, I experienced it during an orgy, which was like not the best part.
Just
Because I
nuts.
can't because I can't just be like, hey, who wants to talk it through with me? Like,
Okay, which one of you wants to sit down and talk about what just happened?
like literally, it was happening, and I was like, I can't. I was like, I
Do we
was,
have a house mom around? Like,
Click away if we did.
No, because the two house dads were fucking people already. So I like the two more nurturing ones were already having sex. So I was like, well, I was literally like, well, I think I'm gonna go to the bathroom. And then I was like, the next day I had therapy, and I was like, hey, dude,
Calvin's on the sideline like, like, good work, gentlemen.
I mean,
Literally,
I'm
yeah.
friends with so many male comedians who are like porn sick, right? So it's like not uncommon for me to hear stories from my male friends about like a lot of men in this generation, their dicks are fucking broken. And I have so many close girlfriends who have gone through breakups that like centered around the idea that like we had this like revolution where women can acknowledge their sexual trauma.
Yeah.
And put words to it and work through it. And that has really changed our ability in mass to experience pleasure during sex and like trust ourselves. And like men are so desperately in need of the same thing because men are using sex as a form of self-harm. Men are engaging in sex where they don't actually know if they want it or not, to the point where by the time they're in their 30s, they don't know if they've ever fucking... You
Yeah.
know?
Enjoyed anything. And that's the also to the general public, stop using porn as research. It's not real. It's like it won't make you feel validated.
No,
and that's
it
the part
doesn't, yeah.
that's something in the gay community because that's all we have. We don't have the class that you could sit down and be like, this is how you safely have gay sex. We learn from porn and it's not fair because we're put in a situation where it's like, okay, I have to perform like this porn star who's been doing this for 10 years and I'm little old me. Like that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
And it's not fair because I'm like, let's get it out there to get us some sort of education so we don't go into this 30 years down the road not knowing if we've ever done it right. And it's unfair.
There's also
frankly.
like there's such a the fucking problem is that when you're young and you learn about like the mechanics of a condom, right?
Yeah.
You learn about that like level of knowledge for sex. But there are so many questions you have, which is like what's the normal amount of time to do a blowjob for?
Yeah.
You know? Like what's the
As if
normal
there's no
amount of time?
rubric, that's like
How
10
long
minutes.
do you hold a position? You know?
Yeah.
Like how much of the time do I as a woman like have to ride him? You know, like all of these questions that like there can't be a curriculum
No.
for, obviously, but we do have these questions and we are going to go searching for the answers, and the only answers that we will find are porn, which is
Porn.
just radically incorrect.
yeah, no, it is literally. Oh my gosh, I learned how to. Yeah, because my very first ever hookup, I identified as a straight man and I was like going to make out with. Yeah, I was gonna go suck a guy's dick, and I was
so
like,
straight of you.
I was so straight. It was my most straight moment, and I had to like, I was checking porn to be like, okay, like. He looks like he's enjoying it that way.
Yeah.
It's crazy to me that you, as a person with a penis, was still stressed out about giving head to a penis.
Terrified. I was terrified.
Because what if it looks different than it does in porn? What if you didn't do your research right and then, a person who has a little extra hoodie on his little junk comes around
right.
and you don't know about that because you
Yeah.
didn't do enough porn research.
I was worried about going to hell after sucking the dick. That was like kind of my biggest
Well,
fear.
that's
with it,
that's
yeah.
because of,
Yeah, that's
your
other kinds of
upbringing.
trauma. Yeah, I would say that's other kinds of trauma. But no, yeah, like you don't tell like and I remember in health class we never learned about like cut versus uncut, and it's like that's something that like is good to like learn about.
I actually only learned about that from the Bible.
Yeah.
Period, queen. Period.
If you think about it.
Yeah, I mean,
Jesus, thank you for teaching me how to use a condom. I really appreciate it.
No.
thank you for letting me know.
I just mean that the
foreskin is
Bible
great.
said circumcision in it, and I would be like, what is circumcision? And my mom
What
had to
is-
like explain to me circumcision.
I remember my mom telling me about circumcision, and then she told me that like some people had it in our family, but other people didn't. And so I was like a 5-year-old, and I knew that my uncle, I'm going to use a different name. I knew that my Uncle Sam, was uncut, and then I knew his son was uncut because
I hate that you
No,
know that.
because I literally, and I know it. Because my mom was like, yeah, and he didn't want like his son to like look at his dick and be like, why is his dick different than mine? So they left it uncut. And,
Yeah.
and I'm like, five being like, I know what your penis looks like, bitch.
Your mom sounds like she so has the gab gene.
Oh, me and my mom,
She
yeah.
sounds
Your
like-
mom.
I want to go to a Mexican restaurant and have margaritas with your mom so fucking bad.
No, my
That
mom,
woman-
me and my mom gab.
I speak from experience. Going to Mexican food with his mom is one of the most fun experiences you could ever have.
Calvin, next time they're here, can we make that happen?
No, literally, they live in Colorado.
Oh,
so we can
great.
just make it happen. Yeah, they're from
I
here.
fully forgot that.
Yeah.
It's okay. Yeah.
I see, and it's been a minute since I've seen your parents, but I do know that. I mean, your parents were always second parents to me. We knew that.
Yeah.
But like, your mom has such a different level of explaining things that makes it just so fun to learn.
No,
Like,
literally, no,
your mom
it's
would
so
be
cool.
a great sex ed teacher. Like if she volunteered to be a sex ed teacher.
My mom was my sex ed teacher. She explained it all at one of my dad's basketball games, and
Which
I
is
literally,
perfect.
and I was like, "Do you know,
Why
like,
was your dad playing basketball and his
Coach.
kid
'Cause
was in the
he
he was
bleachers? Oh,
coaching,
okay.
yeah, because my dad was like a
Sorry.
big sports guy." Yeah.
I'm just imagining you like in school being like, yeah, I gotta go to my dad's basketball game later on. Like, what the fuck kind of role reversal?
Yeah, no, we were just like going because he coached for the school, and I was like, Mom, I finally learned about like what this is, and she went in depth. It's because my dad didn't want to do it, which
She's
I
like,
do
so no, you
understand.
didn't, because this
And,
is
and
this,
no, and
this is
she went
that.
in depth, and I was like, oh shit, my mom would teach sex ed really well if she ever wanted to.
I would take that class in a heartbeat.
Yeah, my parents are completely different in how they like experience the world. And so it's funny because my dad is like a super analytical, and he was a math teacher, and he's a great math teacher because he's good at being like, no, this is how it is, which in math is perfect, but then in something like sex ed is not. But my mom did not like math very much, but she was really good at explaining the more like abstract concepts. So it was like, yeah, it was definitely, yeah, my mom, I felt like I had a decent sex education because of my mom. And she'd be
Yeah.
like, if you have any questions, let me know. And she never made it awkward or anything like that. Shout out, Mom. Hey,
Yeah, shout
please
out
don't
to
be
Calvin's mom.
listening,
I love
but like
you.
love you up.
Girl,
My
I love you so much.
mom read a book to me
Oh,
that was a Christian
What was the book?
and it was meant to prepare you for puberty. So it was called like Our Changing Bodies or something.
I've heard of that
but it was
book
from
actually.
a
Yeah.
Christian perspective specifically. And
Puberty books.
when it explained how a baby was made, it said a man and a woman lie in a loving position. Okay. So
I love starting off that way.
lie in a loving position. That's as much as I got from my mom. And then I picked up on the streets this.
Yep.
More generically, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So what I thought happened
I know.
straight up was insert, go to sleep.
That's what I thought too.
So
I
big.
thought the same thing. I was 12 and I
Because
was like, you don't. What's this
you
motion?
sleep
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
someone, right? You have to lie, and some point over the course of the night, like 7 hours in, like there's been enough time in the vagina for those sperms to get all the way up.
That's what
Like,
I
once you
literally
achieve
thought the
REM
same
the
sleep,
thing.
the
idea
sperms
of
are like, okay,
ejaculation
let's go.
was crazy to me. The idea of thrusting. When I found out about thrusting,
Mind blown.
literally.
thank-
I would
God
I
for
would literally
thrusting.
masturbate as a kid, and I would be like, but you just lay there. Like I never made the connection until probably watching porn, which is
I'm
probably
sorry.
not the best.
Unfortunately, that's stupider than me because because you literally had the like key mechanics to like experiment with, and I had none of that.
Yeah. Well, Calvin's a phony.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you why Calvin's a phony, because I needed him at a very vulnerable part of my life when I was experimenting with like masturbation and stuff. As my best friend, I needed him to be like, this is valid. And every time I would like tell him or go to him about these kind of things, he'd be,
I would be so.
he would be like, you do that? And he'd like,
I would be like, you
Hannah, look
touch
at
your
me.
dick.
Hannah, look at me. He'd go, you do that? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, that is the most vile thing anyone could ever do. And then come to find out, last year he tells me I did it every day.
Yeah, I was in high school. I would jack off daily. I would not
Yeah.
go a day with, sometimes 2 times a day. I was a horny high schooler.
And he made me feel like crap about it.
He would literally be like, yeah, I'm like, do you not watch porn? And I'm like, no, like I'm better than that.
He's
As
like,
I'm
"No, I
like
watch Game
actively
of
watching
Thrones."
porn or
Like-
something. I was very
Was it
judgmental.
gay porn?
100%. It was hot boys kissing.
Sorry. So this whole time, you're straight.
Yeah.
You have a girlfriend.
Did not have a girlfriend.
You had my
You have a
sloppy
girlfriend.
seconds.
I had his sloppy
You
seconds.
had my sloppy seconds. I dated her first. Let's call her Kate. She's we'll call
That's
her
her
Kate.
name.
Yeah, we'll call her Kate.
We'll call her Kate because her parents named
Yeah,
her Kate.
I was with Kate, and Calvin really liked Kate at the time, and I had gone through
Admired
this
the
whole
hair,
process. I had met Kate's parents. They made me feel really uncomfortable. It was really bad, and then
Because they were like, why is a gay man trying
yeah,
to date our
and
daughter?
then Calvin liked Kate, and then we went to rehearsal for our musical at the time. I gave her flowers. She threw them on the floor. She didn't like me, but if they were from Calvin, it would have been a whole different story. And then after the fact, they kind of had a thing, but then I think she just saw through.
We were
the fact that he's gay,
so
so.
her first kiss was Brendan, and she
Mm-hmm.
was my first kiss.
Yeah.
So the first 2 guys she kissed are both now flaming homos. But she dates really
I
hot
hope
guys
that's
now.
doing really well for her self-esteem.
No, she's dating really hot guys now. Like, good for her, truly.
Which is good for her. Sorry. Just in case Kate was watching, I'm gonna stay. I'm gonna stay humble.
I feel like if Kate's watching, she gets that you don't like her.
No, she definitely knows
There's
that one of
no
us liked the other
mystery
more,
when
and
you
it was
know-
me. Yeah,
and Kate, it was only because you threw my flowers on the floor.
that really stung.
No
yeah.
tea, no shade, except for the flowers, because you were there for that.
Yeah, no, but I was like fully like I need to kiss girls, but I can only jack off to guys. I was
What a great
convinced
rule.
that I was gonna have to take like hella Viagra on my wedding night because I was like I'm gonna get hard for my
How
girl.
did you know about Viagra?
That's not something you find in porn. That was something
Yeah,
you
I
were
don't know
looking
how
for
I found
somewhere
out
else.
about that. Well, I listened
Were
to
you watching The Price is Right every day?
no Fox News.
Yeah.
Fox News
That'll
and
do
Fox
it.
News has Viagra commercials about every other
That'll do it.
commercial.
Did we answer her question, by the way?
I think we
Okay,
did.
yeah.
Yes,
I hope
I
so.
did.
Okay.
So don't worry. Basically, I think that if your gut is telling you go on the date because the conversation flowed well in the moment, then just go on the date and trust yourself in the moment to know when someone's being crazy.
Yes.
Okay, great. Next
agree.
question.
Next question. Too funny for the world to handle. Hannah, you'll get this one more than anyone. Yeah, fuck Calvin. No. Yeah, he knows nothing. I think I'd be a very successful comedian. I have so many bits, but I'm worried I'm too good. So I've been
Wow.
saving my gift. Also, like, what if it's embarrassing? I've considered being a professional assistant to a comedian so I can try on their life and feed them my jokes so they tell them and subconsciously believe they're their own jokes. What are your thoughts on that? Needing advice of a legend. Signed Home Alone 2, Lost in New York, sans Trump's appearance in the film. Unfortunately, that was a funny little...
Great movie. It's a staple in our household.
It was actually a
I
good
love
movie.
Okay. I don't think you understand how much comedians make because
Yeah.
anyone who can afford a personal assistant is like touring stadiums and has a cabal of like their favorite comics who are
Yeah.
their friends from coming up with, and they just employ all of their friends. Like no one is like, oh god, I like need to hire an assistant who's not someone I know. Like that's honestly fucking weird.
Yeah.
And a red flag if they do.
Yeah.
So I don't think there's a lot of personal assistant to comedian jobs out there because a lot of the comedians who you're thinking of, who you would want to be a personal assistant to, can't afford an assistant and are not as rich as you think they are. Even like people who you think of as a household name are like middle class.
And assistants, I don't think people realize how expensive assistants are. Like if they're traveling with you, that's another mouth to feed. That's another hotel room. That's another,
Yeah.
all these things on top of a salary. Like
Yeah,
that's a lot
That's not
of
included
money.
in the salary.
Yeah,
is the
no,
big
literally
thing.
it's not. And I'm like, that's like a shit ton of money to spend
and
on
also
one person.
like all of the things that an assistant would do is going to be done by their manager,
Mm-hmm.
booking agent, tour agent. Like they have different, like a tour manager does a lot of shit, but that's like
Yeah.
specific to that role and it's contracted for like 6 months at a time. There's like social media people who do social media for comics. That's a real job. But just like personal assistant, like what you think of as the Kardashians having, that doesn't really super exist.
And also, I don't know. I feel like a lot of comics start off being really cocky. I remember before I first started doing comedy, I was like, I'm going to hit a stage and they're going to be so mind blown by me that they're going to like be like, where has he been his whole life? And that no comic has ever actually started off that way. They might have that like grand illusion, but you thinking that you have the best jokes in the world that like professional comics need to hear them and do them. is something that you need to perform them yourself and actually see if they're good, because they might suck.
That's a big humbling moment. And I think you guys are in a really good position with this podcast to be very transparent about that, because when I started like listening to like Calvin breaking into the industry, like at the beginning, from what he was telling me, like in describing the shows he would do, I was like, he's probably making bank, just like not thinking about like
so funny.
how in
Yeah.
reality, like that's not the case. And like, I was just arrogant about because I didn't know that like sometimes you'd have to do it for free.
Yeah.
And that's the reality,
Especially
just to
when
get
you're
out
new,
there.
yeah.
And that's something I didn't know.
I literally have a follower who was like flirting with me, and he was cute. So I was like flirting back a little bit. And then he was like, you should like fly me. Oh, it was because I was in North Carolina. And yeah, okay. So he was like, well, you should just like fly me out to Denver sometime and I'll be your little boy toy. And I was like, oh, sorry. I applied for Snap today. Do you think, excuse me, sir, do you have a sort of, you
Want to go grocery shopping with me?
you
Like-
didn't even buy a ticket to my fucking show in North Carolina. Like, if I was gonna fly someone out, it would certainly not be a man who's given me no money. But no. I was like, I get flown out. I get flown out.
Yeah.
To be a boy toy, a girl toy.
Yeah.
No, yeah.
That's bold.
Comedy
Just-
really leans in extremes. Like, you're either going to get paid like $10 in like a half off a drink, or you get like, there are some shows that do actually pay, in my opinion. Like, maybe it's because you're used to being paid garbage at the beginning that I'm like, damn,
Yeah.
I just got paid that much for that much work.
I make half of an income through comedy.
Yeah.
And that's like good. Like that's amazing.
Yeah.
But that's not like buy a house money.
Yeah.
And I think it's just crazy. Like I've had people in Colorado mansplain to me social media and how much I get paid. He was literally a comic. Ooh, I wish I could just drop his name right now. I hate him so much.
we will be. I
He's
will
so
find out his
annoying.
name afterwards.
He was
Okay,
sitting,
As I need to know.
sitting in a green room explaining to me that I make six figures from social media alone. And I had to explain to him that YouTube followers and Instagram followers are not the same thing.
Completely different.
And how could you be such a dumbass as to not know that?
And because he probably only has like 100 followers.
And
like
also, how did you not?
presence
How
probably
would
has.
you not know that? Do you think that
He thinks that I'm like, oh, I sure have a lot of followers. How did I stumble into them? All I do is post my random thoughts on the internet. Never written a joke. I never crafted a brand or a personality. And I sure do wish I knew if there was any money at the end of this rainbow. Like, that's truly... So many men have had conversations with me about my career in a way that makes it clear that they think I like accidentally fell in to everything, and it's
No, it's infuriating because you're like, first of all, you're a man telling me this, so sit yourself down. Number one. Number two, my salary has nothing to do with the fact that you're being a terrible person right now. Like, even if you did make six figures, none of your business, because I'm flying you out to be my boy toy. Like, what? No, that doesn't correlate. You don't get to know my salary and be my boy toy. It's one or the other. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, ugh, that's gross. That's gross to me.
That doesn't surprise me that a guy in Denver tried to do that, though. Because some of them just be really thinking they are the smartest thing that has ever walked the face of the planet Earth.
Yeah, comics are. Okay, so sorry. To
Comics
answer
are
your
something else.
actual question, I think you are mistaking funniness with the skill of stand-up comedy. So, for example, if someone approached a welder and was like, I think I'm the greatest metal worker, they would say that you could actually have the most raw talent in the whole entire world, and you still have to go to welding school and learn to weld, you know? Like, you could have the most raw talent as a dancer of anyone in the world, and if you want to join a ballet company, you have to go to ballet class.
Yes.
And you have to learn the language of the choreography. Like, it is not at all dependent on raw talent.
Right.
And if you have enough raw talent to be the one person who skips to the front of the line, the fastest that it can ever go is like 3 years.
And
that
that's like
is-
miraculous.
And that is one person in a generation. The majority of people take 10 years to get good. And there's no real reason to believe that because everybody who starts comedy is already the funniest person that everyone they know knows. They get told all their entire life that they're the funniest person they've ever met. And then they start comedy, and 90% of those people quit. So then you're left with 10% after like 5 years. And then after another 5 years, it's
Dwindle
again
down
cold.
even more.
So if you don't understand, like the process is just that you do it for a long time, for many years, and then hopefully doors start opening. But I think you should absolutely do it.
It's worth trying because you might try it and love it, and then it's like you just found like your new passion. And
Yeah.
you know, you could do great at your first open mic, and you might actually have like a lot of raw talent. But yeah, but raw talent doesn't tell you how to deal with a heckler. Raw talent doesn't help you have an hour of really strong content that you know can work across the country.
Yeah.
Like raw talent doesn't lend to those like nuances that you don't know about until you actually start. But raw talent's great. So if you have it, that's awesome. It might cut your working time in half before you can make it big or whatever, but you still have to do it.
And the fact that you don't have any sort of like appreciation for the process betrays a certain level of naivety. The same way that someone who walks into a modern art museum and says like, oh, I could do that. It's like, sure, theoretically you could, but the fact that you don't even understand what makes this art meaningful,
That's the arrogance.
that is like what makes you so behind everybody else who could also do that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I mean, I had this, I remember when I first started comedy, when I had to find out that it was more work at the beginning than I thought, because I feel like I have some raw talent with humor, because I have like a background in like making people laugh through theater, that I was like, I think I'll be okay. And then I was like, oh shit, like this has helped me have a killer foundation, and it has made my life so much easier in comedy because I have this background. But I still had to like go through the fire to like figure out like nuances that are so specific to stand-up comedy that I would have never known had I not tried it.
Yeah.
Like, and I feel like it's that with any profession, really. Yeah, like welding is a perfect example. You had another good one, bitch.
Thank you.
Your
so
analogies are
much.
getting better. How
Well,
exciting.
And like to that point, like you can write as much as you want. You're not going to know how it is until you're in front of an audience.
I
and
wrote
you
in
can
college,
think it's the
yeah.
funniest thing ever, and you're going to get humbled real quick when there's crickets. And I think that's
Yeah.
so funny.
And no one's going to want to hire you as a writer without a resume. Like there
Right.
are people who write jokes for other comedians, and the way you get hired for those jobs is that you're in the community and you know people and you have credits. So,
And when you're in the community, you know who's like a really good writer. Like it shows. Like it's very
yeah.
obvious.
There's no fast pass here, Disney adults. Okay.
Yep.
Never been, never never
Okay.
will.
Don't wait. Sorry. Oh, okay.
No, he was being
No, yeah, you're
sarcastic.
good.
He's
Doing a little bit. Thank you guys so much for joining me. My name is Hannah Jones. You can find me at Hannah Jones Cool anywhere on the internet. Brendan, where can the people find you?
You can find me at Burndan. It's a fun little nickname I had. BERNDAN 0712 on Instagram. Very exciting. Post my life in Orlando, and if you like to see fun Disney things and random things here and there, give me a follow. Come and see.
Hell yeah. And you can find me at Calvin Reed, REID_.
And you can subscribe to the Patreon for only $3 at patreon.com/HannahJonesCool. Thanks and goodbye.
Bye. Bye.